Welcome to Travel Italia, the show about travel in Italy. Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Catherine, an American expat who has lived in Italy for many years. I'm ready to share my tips and advice so that you can plan your perfect Italian vacation. This podcast is for those of you who love to plan your own vacations, for those of you who really enjoy diving into the details of every aspect of your trip. So, if that's you, this is the podcast for you. So, welcome to our very first episode. On today's show, I'll talk about which months are better to travel to Italy. If you're thinking of visiting Italy or you're in the planning process, it's important to know which months you should avoid. In the many years I've lived here, I've learned a thing or two about Italy's seasons, its customs and travel trends that are important to know when you're planning a trip. You may be wondering which months are best, which months should I avoid. We'll talk about that. So let's get started. First, let's talk about the summer months. Summers in Italy are generally very hot and very humid. Unless you're going to the Alps or the Dolomites in northern Italy, you'll find that from north to south, the weather is, like I said, very, very warm. And July is generally considered the warmest month. And just to give you an example, the average temperature in Rome in July of 2023 was 33.8 Celsius. That's 93 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity hovering around 80 to 90%. Unfortunately, in the last few years, the summer temps here in Italy have reached record highs. So, unlike the US, many Italians just don't have AC, and actually some restaurants and some smaller shops, establishments don't have it either. So heat is a serious consideration if you're someone who doesn't tolerate heat very well, or if you have a medical condition that is exacerbated by heat. I would recommend avoiding the summer months altogether. The other major drawback of the summer months is, of course, the crowds. Summer is the busiest season in Italy. So that means if you're going to some of the most popular destinations, for example, Florence, Venice, Rome, Cinque Terre, etc., you're going to find crowds, long lines for everything, long lines to enter the most popular sites and museums as well. So not only is it hot, but you're stuck standing in long lines in the sun. And I also have to mention that last year was a record-breaking year, not only for high summer temperatures, but also for crowds. All the known records were broken during the 2023 summer season for the most tourists ever to visit Italy. Wow. I think it was caused by a pent-up demand after all the COVID restrictions and so many countries, including Italy, relaxing their COVID travel requirements. Another downside of traveling in the summer months is the fact that prices are high. The rates for just about everything go up significantly in June, July, and August. For example, I did a quick comparison of hotel prices for a stay in a 3-star hotel in the historic area in downtown Rome. And what I found was the same hotel charged €130 a night in May and €216 a night in July. Now that's quite a difference. So just know that if you travel during the summer months, you're going to pay more for hotels, vacation rentals, and even car rentals. Let's talk about the worst possible month to travel in Italy. That is August. Why is it the worst, you ask? Well, it's the worst because, believe it or not, most Italians all go on vacation in August. I know, hard to believe, right? Historically, Italian companies, both big and small, what they do is they mandate vacation times for their employees. So poor Italians, they just have no choice. And that translates into August having the highest prices because demand is so high, especially in places along the coast like in Puglia, Liguria, or Sardinia. Big Italian cities are left nearly empty in August, and many businesses and restaurants close for most of the month. Now, as an American, I found this really strange, especially coming from a country that is so service oriented. I could hardly believe that a business owner would close his or her shop for weeks at a time. Now, if you are in one of the big Italian cities like Rome, Florence, Venice, Milan, the historic city center won't be affected. So there will be restaurants, there will be shops that are open. But outside of the historic city centers, most of the shops and services will be closed. So just know that, be aware. And also, the beaches will be absolutely packed, not only with tourists, but Italians who are on vacation. And again, just know that, especially if you're in northern Italy, it's a ghost town. They're all on vacation in Puglia, living it up. So that's one reason to avoid traveling in August. So, what about June? Now, June has the mildest weather of all the summer months, and early June is really nice because the temperatures are lower and the crowds are smaller. I know for those of you who want to travel with your children, you're limited by school schedules. I would recommend that if you absolutely must travel during the summer months, avoid July altogether. Shoot for early June or even late August, the last week of August when Italians are done with their vacations and the temperatures start to lower. You may be asking at this point, so which month do you recommend? Unless you have your heart set on an Italian beach vacation, I would suggest traveling in September, October, and early November. Why? Because the temperatures are cooler, prices are lower, and there are much fewer tourists during these months. I also recommend late March, April, and May. Spring is absolutely gorgeous in Italy, and temperatures are relatively mild. As with the autumn months, the spring months are just generally less crowded and cheaper. So you're just, not going to have to endure the heat or as many crowds. And obviously that would make your vacation much nicer. So what about the winter months? December, January, or February? Of course, it just depends on where you are traveling to specifically in Italy and what your plans are, what you would like to see and do. Italian winters are pretty mild, but, of course, you may run into delays because of rain or snow, especially in the north. If, you really want to see, for example, Liguria. January, February, is not the best time to go. It's going to be cold and windy and not ideal for exploring Liguria. But on the other hand, if you are just set on seeing specific cities in Italy, say you want to go to Umbria and see Perugia, Assisi, or just roam around Umbria. The winter is nice. It's cold, but you have way less crowds, and you basically have the place to yourself, which is nice. I especially adore Italy at Christmas time. I love the traditions, I love the simplicity of it, and I especially adore Christmas markets that are typical, and you can find them going on all over the country in big and small cities. They're really wonderful. If you want to visit northern Italy, say for a ski vacation, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You have the Alps, you have the Dolomites that offer a lot of skiing. And at some point, I do plan on doing an episode about ski vacations in Italy, so stay tuned for that. So those are my recommendations. Basically, beware of traveling in the summer months, especially August, and choose instead spring or autumn. I hope this show was helpful to you as you're planning your vacation. If you want more travel tips from me, from an American expat who knows the ropes, do subscribe, rate the show, and share it with your travel buddies. I appreciate your time and wish you a buon viaggio. Ciao.